Karen thought she could just borrow my $18,000 jet ski because her precious little angels deserved a fun day at the lake. Turns out stealing from a marine mechanic with trust issues and a very creative sense of justice was not her brightest idea. If you've ever wanted to see a jet ski thief get served some ice-cold karma with a side of public humiliation, smash that upvote. Drop a comment if you think entitled parents should come with warning labels and maybe some basic lessons in don't touch other people's stuff. Welcome to Lake Smugness. Population, 1 very loud Karen. Let me paint you a picture of paradise. Crystal Lake, Michigan, 3 hours north of Detroit, where the water's clean, the fish are biting, and city folks come to pretend they're outdoorsy for exactly 2 weeks every summer. I've got a sweet little cabin here, nothing fancy, but it's got a private dock and enough peace and quiet to make a man forget about the outside world. At least, it used to. I'm Jake, 34, been a marine mechanic for 12 years, which means I know boats and jet skis like most people know their morning coffee routine. My pride and joy is a 2022 Yamaha GP1800R SVHO. That's $18,000 worth of pure adrenaline on water, custom tuned by yours truly. She's got 270 horsepower, can hit 67 miles per hour on smooth water, and purrs like a mechanical angel when I fire her up. I named her Sweet Revenge, for reasons that'll become crystal clear real soon. Every weekend, I trailer Sweet Revenge up to the lake, spend Saturday morning doing maintenance checks, and Saturday afternoon carving up the water like it owes me money. It's my therapy, my meditation, and my way of reminding myself why I work 60-hour weeks in a greasy shop. That jet ski represents every overtime hour, every busted knuckle, every one more thing that turned into a 12-hour day. This particular Saturday starts perfect. July morning, 78 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. I'm on my dock at 7 a.m., checking fluid levels and cleaning yesterday's bugs off Sweet Revenge's hull. The lake's like glass, and I'm already planning my route. North to Devil's Cove, loop around Bear Island, maybe hit that sweet jumping spot near the old quarry. That's when I hear it. The sound that makes every peaceful lake resident want to invest in noise-canceling headphones. A family of city tourists setting up camp at the public beach. And not just any family. The kind that brings 17 coolers for portable speakers and enough inflatable pool toys to stock a small water park. The matriarch of this chaos parade is a woman who screams suburban soccer mom with a management degree and an attitude problem. Platinum blonde hair that's probably never seen natural sunlight. Designer sunglasses that cost more than most people's monthly car payments. And a voice that could cut through boat engine noise at 50 yards. She's directing the setup like a general planning D-Day. If D-Day involved color-coordinated beach umbrellas and organic, gluten-free snacks. Madison, put the unicorn float closer to the water. Jackson, stop throwing sand. It's getting in mommy's rows. Oh, and she's got one of those wine tumblers at 9 a.m. because apparently, supervising children at a lake requires liquid courage. The kids, Madison and Jackson, because of course those are their names, are doing that thing where rich kids act like they own any space their parents can afford to occupy. I'm trying to ignore the circus, focus on my pre-ride checklist, when I notice soccer mom Karen, let's call her SMK for short, staring at Sweet Revenge with the kind of look a starving person gives a perfectly grilled steak. Not appreciation, calculation. She starts walking over, wine tumbler in hand. That fake smile plastered across her face like she's about to ask me to donate to her kid's private school fundraiser. I've seen that smile before. It's the, I want something from you, and I'm going to use charm to get it smile. Spoiler alert, charm was never her strong suit. Excuse me, she calls out, voice dripping with false friendliness. That's such a gorgeous jet ski. Is it yours? No, lady. I just randomly decided to perform maintenance on a stranger's watercraft at 7 a.m. for fun. Yeah, it's mine. I say, not looking up from checking the intake grate. Oh, how wonderful. She's closer now, and I can smell the rose on her breath mixed with what I'm guessing is a $200 per ounce perfume. I don't suppose you'd be interested in renting it out? My children have never been on a jet ski, and it would just make their whole summer. Her children. Right. Madison looks about 12 and is currently trying to drown an inflatable flamingo while screaming at maximum volume. Jackson appears to be 7 and has somehow managed to get sand in his hair, his ears, and probably his digestive system in the 15 minutes they've been here. Sorry, not for rent. I tell her, standing up to make it clear this conversation is over. Insurance liability and all that. Her smile falters for just a second, but she recovers quickly. Oh, I completely understand. But we're very responsible people. I could put down a deposit, sign a waiver, whatever you need. Money's no object. Money's no object. There it is. The entitled parent battle cry. Because in SMK's world, everything has a price, and that price is always whatever she's willing to pay to make her precious angels happy. Still not for rent. I repeat, turning back to sweet revenge. Have a great day. But SMK isn't done. Oh no, she's just getting warmed up. Well, maybe we could work something out. I mean, you're not even using it right now, and my children. I cut her off. Lady, I said no. The jet ski's not for rent, not for sale, not for borrowing. Find something else to entertain your kids. That's when the mask slips completely. The fake smile vanishes, replaced by the kind of cold entitlement that makes you understand why some people shouldn't reproduce. That's incredibly selfish, she says, voice sharp enough to etch glass. You're just going to sit there hoarding that thing while children go without? Hoarding, like sweet revenge, is emergency medical supplies instead of my personal property that I worked my ass off to afford. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do, I tell her. Enjoy your day. She storms off, wine tumbler clutched like a weapon, muttering something about selfish people and teaching lessons. I should have paid more attention to that muttering. Should have recognized the tone of someone planning something stupid. Instead, I fired up sweet revenge and headed out for what I thought would be a perfect morning on the water. Turns out, perfect mornings don't last when entitled parents decide they know better than the word no. I spent 3 glorious hours on the water, hitting every spot I'd planned and a few I hadn't. Sweet revenge performed like a dream. Smooth acceleration, tight turns, and that beautiful moment when you hit the throttle and physics becomes optional for a few seconds. By noon, I'm riding high on adrenaline and vitamin D, ready to head back to the dock for lunch and maybe an afternoon nap. That's when I see something that makes my blood pressure spike like a rocket. SMK standing on my dock, hands on her hips, staring at where sweet revenge should be parked but isn't. I kill the engine and coast up to the dock, and before I can even tie off, she's on me like a Karen missile seeking its target. There you are, she shouts, like I'm a teenager who missed curfew instead of a grown man using his own property. I've been waiting here for 20 minutes. Congratulations, I say, securing sweet revenge to the dock. Want a medal? Don't get smart with me, she snaps. I want to rent your jet ski. My children have been waiting all morning, and I'm prepared to pay whatever you think is fair. We're back to this. I climb onto the dock, water still dripping from my wet suit, and give her my most patient smile, the one I use for customers who think their boat problems are caused by government conspiracies or aliens. Like I said this morning, it's not for rent. Not at any price. Find another way to entertain your kids. Her face goes through this fascinating color progression, pink to red to a shade of purple that suggests her blood pressure medication needs adjusting. This is ridiculous. It's just sitting here doing nothing. What harm could it possibly do? Just sitting here doing nothing. Right. Like when I'm not actively riding it, sweet revenge enters some kind of temporal stasis where she's available for public use. The logic of entitled people never fails to amaze me. The harm, I explain slowly, like I'm talking to someone with a head injury, is that it's my property and I don't want strangers using it. End of discussion. I start walking toward my cabin, but SMK isn't done. She follows me up the dock, voice rising to that particular pitch that makes dogs whimper and glass crack. You know what? You're just like all the other selfish people who come up here. You have no sense of community, no consideration for families who are trying to make memories. I stop walking and turn around. Lady, your inability to plan activities for your kids is not my emergency. There's a rental place 15 minutes up the road. Go make memories there. Those rentals are ancient and slow, and they're booked until next weekend. She's practically screaming now, wine tumbler waving dangerously close to my personal space. My children deserve better than that. Her children deserve better. There it is, the entitled parent's ultimate trump card. Her children deserve whatever they want, when they want it, because she birthed them and therefore the universe owes her family special treatment. Then maybe next time book ahead, I suggest. Revolutionary concept, I know. That's when she plays her final card, the guilt trip. Her voice drops to what I'm sure she thinks is a reasonable, persuasive tone. Look, I understand you're protective of your property, but these are just innocent children who want to have fun. Surely you can find it in your heart to help a family in need. Family in need. This woman standing here in designer beachwear with a wine tumbler that costs more than some people make in a day, talking about need. The cognitive dissonance is so strong, I'm surprised she doesn't collapse into a black hole of her own contradiction. My heart's working just fine, I tell her. It's my common sense that's telling me not to let strangers use expensive equipment they can't afford to replace if something goes wrong. I turn away again, but she grabs my arm. Actually puts her hands on me. Big mistake. Don't you dare walk away from me, she shrieks. I am talking to you. I look down at her hand on my arm, then back at her face. My voice goes very quiet, very calm. Take your hand off me. Now. Something in my tone must penetrate her entitlement fog because she lets go, but the crazy light in her eyes is still burning bright. Fine. Be selfish. But don't think this is over. She storms back toward the beach, wine tumbler held high like a battle standard. I watch her go, making a mental note to keep an eye on sweet revenge for the rest of the day. When entitled people promise that this isn't over, they usually mean it. I head inside for lunch, keeping one eye on the dock through my kitchen window. For about an hour, everything seems normal. SMK and her spawn are making their usual chaos at the beach, but they're staying in their own area. I start to relax, make myself a sandwich, crack open a beer. That's when I hear Sweet Revenge's engine start up. I drop my sandwich and sprint to the window. SMK is on my jet ski, backing away from the dock like she knows exactly what she's doing. Madison and Jackson are jumping up and down on the beach, cheering like their mom just won the lottery instead of committing grand theft watercraft. I'm outside and running toward the dock before my brain fully processes what I'm seeing. Hey, I shout, but SMK's already hitting the throttle, Sweet Revenge roaring to life under her complete lack of permission. She turns toward me just long enough to give me the smuggest wave I've ever seen. A little finger waggle that clearly says, "What are you going to do about it, selfish man?" Then she guns it toward open water, my $18,000 baby disappearing behind a wall of spray and stolen satisfaction. For about 10 seconds, I just stand there, watching this entitled soccer mom joyride away on 3 years' worth of my overtime. Then the marine mechanic part of my brain kicks in, followed quickly by the part that really doesn't like people taking my stuff without permission. See, what SMK doesn't know, what she couldn't know, because she didn't bother to ask, is that Sweet Revenge has a few custom modifications that don't come standard from Yamaha. Security features, you might call them. The kind of modifications you install when you work in a business where expensive equipment has a tendency to grow legs and walk away. I pull out my phone and open an app that most jet ski owners don't have. Because most jet ski owners don't spend their free time installing GPS tracking systems and remote engine controls in their watercraft. Sweet Revenge's location pops up on my screen. She's about a quarter mile out, heading toward the main part of the lake where the weekend crowd likes to show off. Perfect. Lots of witnesses for what happens next. I dial a number I never thought I'd have to use. Sheriff's Department? I'd like to report a theft in progress. Someone just stole my jet ski from my private dock. While I'm giving the dispatcher details, I'm also watching SMK's joyride on my phone screen. She's opened up the throttle, probably experiencing the full 270 horsepower for the first time in her pampered life. Sweet Revenge is flying across the water, and I can almost picture the look of entitled satisfaction on SMK's face. Enjoy it while you can, Karen. Because in about 30 seconds, You're going to learn why stealing from someone who builds engines for a living is a spectacularly bad idea. I tap another icon on my phone, the one labeled Emergency Stop. A quarter-mile away, Sweet Revenge's engine shuts down like someone just pulled the plug on Karen's whole world. The silence that follows is beautiful. 1 second, SMK is living her best entitled life, screaming across the lake on stolen horsepower. The next second, she's sitting dead in the water while every other boater in a half-mile radius turns to see what just happened to the crazy lady who was tearing up their peaceful Saturday afternoon. I'm watching it all play out on my phone like the world's most satisfying reality TV show. The GPS tracker shows Sweet Revenge bobbing motionless right in the middle of the main channel, where the lake's weekend traffic is heaviest. Pontoon boats, fishing vessels, and other jet skiers are all converging on the scene, probably wondering why some tourist just went from full throttle to dead stop in the span of 3 seconds. My phone rings. Sheriff's Department calling back. Mr. Peterson? This is Deputy Martinez. We've got units responding to your theft report, but I need to ask, did you say the stolen jet ski just stopped running? That's right. I tell him, trying to keep the satisfaction out of my voice. Engine failure, looks like. She's stranded right in the main channel. Engine failure? He sounds skeptical. That's quite a coincidence. Yeah, well, these machines are complicated. Lots of things can go wrong when someone who doesn't know what they're doing tries to operate them. Technically true. Deliberately incomplete, but true. Through my binoculars, I can see SMK frantically trying to restart the engine. She's pulling the emergency lanyard, pressing the start button, probably cursing loud enough to scare the fish. But Sweet Revenge isn't going anywhere. The remote kill switch I installed is designed to look like a normal engine failure. No warning lights, no obvious signs that someone just shut her down from a smartphone app. The first boat to reach her is a pontoon full of families out for their Saturday cruise. I can see the captain approaching cautiously, probably wondering if he's looking at someone in distress or someone who just learned a very expensive lesson about boat maintenance. SMK is waving her arms around like she's directing traffic, clearly expecting immediate assistance with her mechanical problem. What she gets instead is a boat full of people staring at her like she's a circus act. Because here's the thing about the lake community, word travels fast, especially when someone's being an ass. Half these boaters probably watched SMK steal my jet ski. The other half heard about it on the radio within 5 minutes. Out here, we look out for each other, and stealing someone's property is about as popular as bringing a megaphone to a funeral. My phone buzzes with a text from my neighbor Bob, who's out on his fishing boat. That the crazy lady who took your ski? Want me to tow her back? I text back. Cops are on the way. Let them handle it. Just keep an eye on things. Bob responds with a thumbs up emoji, and this is better than cable TV. The pontoon captain is talking to SMK now, and from her body language, the conversation isn't going well. She's pointing toward my dock, probably explaining how she's the victim of a mechanical malfunction and definitely not a jet ski thief. The captain's nodding politely, but he's not moving to help her. Smart man. More boats are arriving. The lake's Saturday crowd is getting a front row seat to the entitled Karen Gets Stranded show, and they're all keeping their distance like she's got something contagious. Which, in a way, she does. Terminal stupidity with a side of criminal behavior. That's when the sheriff's boats show up. 2 units, coming in fast from opposite directions, LED lights flashing blue and red across the water. The kind of response you get when you report a theft in progress during peak lake season. SMK probably thinks they're coming to rescue her from her unfortunate mechanical problem. She's about to learn otherwise. I grab my dock lines and head down to meet them. The first deputy pulls up to my dock like he's done this 1,000 times. Smooth approach, perfect docking, engine shut down with military precision. Deputy Martinez climbs out, a guy in his 40s who looks like he spent more time on boats than dry land. Mr. Peterson? I'm Deputy Martinez. Hell of a thing, having your jet ski break down right after someone steals it. There's something in his tone that suggests he knows exactly what kind of engine failure we're dealing with, but he's too professional to come right out and say it. Yeah, terrible timing, I agree. Good thing you guys responded so fast. I was worried she might drift into the shipping channel. Martinez nods, radioing the second unit. Unit 2, this is Martinez. Victim confirms identity of stolen watercraft. Proceed with contact and recovery. Through my binoculars, I watched the second sheriff's boat pull alongside Sweet Revenge. SMK is still playing the victim, hands thrown up in exasperation, probably explaining how she's just an innocent mom whose borrowed jet ski decided to quit working at the worst possible moment. The deputy isn't buying it. I can't hear what they're saying, but SMK's body language tells the whole story. Defensive hand gestures, pointing toward my dock, then that moment when the deputy says something that makes her realize she's not getting rescued. She's getting arrested. Dispatch, this is Unit 2, the radio crackles. I have one female in custody for theft of watercraft. Requesting marine towing service for recovery of stolen property. Martinez turns to me with a grin. Funny thing about engine failures. Sometimes they fix themselves once the right person gets behind the controls. I shrug, all innocent confusion. These modern engines are complicated. Lots of electronic systems, safety features, anti-theft devices. You never know what might cause a sudden shutdown. Anti-theft devices, Martinez repeats slowly. Those are getting pretty sophisticated these days, aren't they? Oh yeah. GPS tracking, remote monitoring, emergency shutoffs. Real high-tech stuff. Of course, most people don't know about features like that unless they specifically ask. I pause. She didn't ask. Martinez actually laughs. No, I don't imagine she did. Well, Mr. Peterson, we'll have your property back to you within the hour. And I suspect Ms. Henderson won't be bothering you again anytime soon. Ms. Henderson. So that's Karen's real name. Patricia Henderson, according to the deputy's notes. Age 42, from Bloomfield Hills, one of Detroit's most expensive suburbs. Probably drives an Escalade and has never heard the word no applied to anything she wanted. Well, Patty, welcome to the real world, where actions have consequences and other people's property isn't your personal playground. The towboat arrives 20 minutes later, Sweet Revenge secured behind it like a prize of war. SMK, sorry, Patricia, is in the back of the sheriff's boat, hands zip-tied behind her back, looking like someone just explained basic property law to her for the first time in her life. As they pass my dock, she gives me a look that could melt steel. Pure, concentrated hatred mixed with the kind of disbelief you see in people who've never faced real consequences for their actions. She mouths something at me, probably not a compliment, but the gag of defeat makes her words irrelevant. Sweet Revenge gets hoisted back onto my dock. No damage visible. Engine components exactly as I left them. Deputy Martinez helps me tie her down, then hands me a business card. You'll need this for the insurance report and court proceedings, he says. Theft of watercraft over $15,000 is a felony in this state. Ms. Henderson's looking at some serious charges. Felony charges. For stealing my jet ski because her kids deserved a fun day at the lake. The entitlement to consequences ratio is finally balancing out. What about her kids? I ask, nodding toward the beach where Madison and Jackson are still playing, apparently oblivious to the fact that Mom just got arrested. Husband's on his way up from Detroit, Martinez says. Should be here within a couple hours. Kids will be fine, but their summer vacation just got a lot less fun. As the sheriff's boats disappear toward the marina, I fire up Sweet Revenge for a quick system check. Engine purrs to life immediately, all systems nominal, remote controls working perfectly. She's ready to ride again, but somehow the afternoon doesn't seem as appealing anymore. Instead, I grab a beer and settle into my dock chair to watch the Henderson family drama play out. Because Patricia's arrest was just the opening act. The real show's about to begin when her husband arrives and discovers what his wife's sense of entitlement just cost them. 3 hours later, a black BMW X7 comes screaming into the Lake Park's parking lot like it's fleeing a natural disaster. The driver parks crooked across 2 spaces, jumps out without locking the doors, and starts scanning the beach with the desperate intensity of a man whose entire world just got flushed down the drain. This has to be Patricia's husband and brother. Does he look like someone whose Saturday just went from family vacation to felony damage control. Mid-40s, expensive polo shirt, the kind of haircut that costs more than most people's grocery budget, and the shell-shocked expression of a man who just got a phone call that started with, "Your wife's been arrested." Madison and Jackson spot him immediately and come running, sand flying everywhere, voices carrying across the water with that particular pitch that makes parents question their life choices. "Daddy, Daddy, Mommy got arrested. She took the mean man's jet ski, and then it broke, and then the police came in." Slow down," he says, kneeling in the sand to get on their level. His voice is strained, like he's trying to maintain calm while internally screaming. "Tell Daddy exactly what happened." What follows is the kind of garbled, excited recounting that only children can provide when something dramatic happens. Madison explains how Mommy asked this selfish man to borrow his jet ski, how he said no, how Mommy took it anyway because we deserved to have fun, and how it stopped working right in the middle of everything. Jackson adds helpful details like Mommy was really mad, and the police boat had pretty lights, and is Mommy going to jail like the bad guys on TV? The husband, I catch his name when the kids call him Daddy David, looks like someone just explained quantum physics to him using interpretive dance. He's processing the fact that his wife committed grand theft watercraft because she couldn't accept the word no from a stranger. I'm watching this whole scene unfold from my dock, beer in hand, feeling like I'm getting a front row seat to the world's most expensive parenting lesson. David's trying to get the full story while Madison and Jackson compete to provide the most dramatic version of events, and you can actually see the moment when he realizes how completely screwed his family is. That's when he looks up and sees me sitting on my dock, clearly the mean man his children have been talking about. For a second, we just stare at each other across 50 yards of water and one very awkward situation. Then he starts walking over. David Henderson, I learn his full name later, is what you'd call a successful suburban professional. Probably makes good money, drives luxury cars, lives in a house with more square footage than some small businesses. He's also about to have a conversation that no amount of money or success can make easier. "Excuse me," he calls out as he approaches my dock. "Are you the owner of the jet ski?" His tone is careful, respectful, the complete opposite of his wife's entitled demands. This is a man who understands that he's in damage control mode and can't afford to make things worse. "That's me," I confirm, not getting up from my chair. "Jake Peterson. Your wife and I met earlier today." He winces like I just slapped him. "Mr. Peterson, I'm David Henderson, Patricia's husband. I just got off the phone with the sheriff's department, and I owe you a massive apology." "An apology? When's the last time someone in the Henderson family tried that approach?" "I appreciate that," I tell him. "But apologies don't change what happened. Your wife stole my property because I wouldn't let her borrow it." David nods, looking like he's aged 5 years in the past 3 hours. "I know, and there's no excuse for that. None at all. I need to understand what happened so I can figure out how to fix this. Like Patricia's felony theft charge is a customer service issue that can be resolved with the right combination of money and charm. But David seems genuinely distressed, not entitled, so I decide to give him the full story. I walk him through the morning's events. Patricia's initial request, my refusal, her escalating demands, the theft, and the inevitable consequences when someone steals from a guy who installs GPS trackers in his toys. David listens without interrupting, his expression growing more horrified with each detail. "Remote engine shutdown?" he asks when I mention Sweet Revenge's security features. "You could have killed her if she'd been going full speed." "The system has safety protocols," I explain. "It won't engage above certain speeds or in dangerous conditions. But yeah, if she'd been showing off near other boats." I let the implication hang in the air. David runs his hands through his expensive haircut. Jesus Christ. She could have hurt herself, hurt other people, all because. He trails off, probably trying to find a rational explanation for irrational behavior. All because she couldn't handle being told no. I finish for him. "Your wife seems to think other people's property becomes community resources when her kids want something." That hits home. David's face goes through several expressions before settling on tired resignation. This isn't the first time, he admits quietly. The entitlement, the demands, the complete inability to accept that she can't have whatever she wants. But it's never escalated to this. Never escalated to felony theft. There's probably a story there, but I'm not getting paid enough to be the Henderson family therapist. Look, David, I say, using his first name to keep things from getting more adversarial. I don't enjoy seeing anyone get arrested. But your wife crossed a serious line today. She took something that wasn't hers, put herself and others at risk, and did it all because she felt entitled to use my property. I know, he says. And I'm not asking you to drop the charges or pretend this didn't happen. Is there anything I can do? Any way to make this right? Make it right. The question hangs between us like a loaded weapon. Because here's the thing. David seems like a decent guy married to an entitled nightmare. His kids are obnoxious, but probably not evil. And Patricia's already facing felony charges that'll follow her for the rest of her life. But then I remember the look on her face when she waved at me from my stolen jet ski. The smug satisfaction of someone who thinks rules don't apply to her. The complete lack of remorse or understanding about what she'd done. Your wife made her choice, I tell David. Now she gets to live with the consequences. That's how the world works for people who don't have daddy's money to make problems disappear. David flinches like I just hit a nerve. It's not. We don't. He stops, probably realizing that any explanation will sound like more entitled bullshit. Here's some free advice. I continue. Take your kids home. Get Patricia a good lawyer. And maybe consider that this is a wake-up call about the kind of person you married and the kind of values you're teaching your children. He nods slowly, looking like a man who's just realized his perfect suburban life was built on a foundation of entitlement and delusion. Thank you for being reasonable about this. It could have been much worse. It could have been much worse. If Patricia had crashed sweet revenge, if she'd hurt herself or someone else, if I'd been the kind of guy who handles theft with violence instead of technology. She's lucky I'm a marine mechanic with a sense of irony instead of a redneck with anger management issues. David walks back to collect his kids, who are building sandcastles and apparently oblivious to the fact that their family vacation just became a legal nightmare. I watch him try to explain why they need to pack up and go home, why mommy won't be coming back to the cabin tonight, why their fun day at the lake is over. Madison throws a tantrum worthy of a toddler half her age. Jackson starts crying. David looks like he's questioning every life choice that led to this moment. As they load their BMW and drive away, I can't help but think about consequences. Patricia wanted her kids to have a memorable day at the lake. Mission accomplished. They'll remember this Saturday for the rest of their lives. Just not for the reasons she intended. Sweet revenge sits peacefully on my dock, undamaged and ready for another ride. But somehow, the afternoon doesn't seem as perfect as it did this morning. Funny how other people's drama can contaminate even the most beautiful day. I crack open another beer and settle in to wait for the next chapter of this story. Because Patricia Henderson's legal troubles are just getting started, and something tells me this entitled suburban princess is about to discover that real consequences don't care about your socioeconomic status. 2 weeks later, I'm back at the lake for what I'm hoping will be a normal, drama-free Saturday. Patricia's been out on bail since Monday, but the Henderson family hasn't returned to their rental cabin. Word travels fast in lake communities, and the story of the entitled suburban mom who stole a jet ski has become local legend. Patricia Henderson is now officially persona non grata at Crystal Lake, which is exactly the kind of social consequences that money can't fix. But the legal system moves slower than lake gossip, and Patricia's court date isn't until next month. In the meantime, I've been getting updates from Deputy Martinez, who seems to enjoy keeping me informed about how thoroughly Patricia has screwed herself. The charges are impressive: felony theft of watercraft over $15,000, criminal trespass, reckless operation of a watercraft, and my personal favorite, attempted fraud for trying to convince the deputies that she had permission to use sweet revenge. Her lawyer is apparently pushing for a plea deal, but the prosecutor isn't feeling generous toward entitled tourists who commit crimes during peak season. I'm doing my morning maintenance routine when my phone buzzes with a text from Martinez. Thought you'd want to know? Your jet ski thief just made the local news. Check Channel 7. I pull up the news app on my phone, and there it is. Wealthy suburban mom faces felony charges after jet ski theft at popular lake resort. The article includes Patricia's mugshot, and brother, does she look different from the smug soccer mom who waved at me from my stolen property. No designer sunglasses, no perfect hair, just the hollow-eyed expression of someone whose entitled worldview just collided with reality at maximum speed. The article lays out the whole story, including some details I didn't know. Turns out Patricia's husband David is a successful attorney, which explains the expensive lifestyle and probably makes this whole situation even more humiliating. His law firm has apparently put him on administrative leave while they assess the reputational impact of having a partner whose wife commits theft because she can't handle being told no. Even better, the article mentions that this isn't Patricia's first run-in with the law. She's got a history of disputes with service providers and property owners, which is newspeak for this woman has been causing problems for years and finally crossed the wrong person. The comments section is pure gold. Lake residents sharing their own Patricia Henderson horror stories. Apparently, she's been coming up here for 3 summers, and each year the complaints multiply. The woman who owns the ice cream stand says Patricia demanded free cones for her kids because customer service should include community spirit. The marina operator says she tried to use someone else's boat slip because hers wasn't convenient enough. Even the grocery store clerk chimes in about Patricia berating staff over organic produce availability. This woman has been a walking disaster for years, and I just happened to be the guy who finally said enough. My phone rings while I'm reading the comments. Unknown number with a Detroit area code. Jake Peterson? The voice is female, professional, with that particular tone that screams, I'm calling about legal stuff you're probably not going to enjoy. Speaking. This is Jennifer Walsh. I represent Patricia Henderson. I'd like to discuss a possible resolution to this unfortunate situation. Resolution. Like Patricia's felony theft charge is a minor disagreement that can be smoothed over with the right conversation. I'm listening. I tell her, mostly out of curiosity about what kind of offer they think will make this go away. My client deeply regrets her actions and the distress they've caused you. She's prepared to make full restitution for any damages, plus additional compensation for your inconvenience. We're hoping to resolve this matter without the need for a lengthy court proceeding. Full restitution plus compensation. Translation. They want to throw money at this problem until it disappears, probably hoping I'll drop the charges and let Patricia avoid a felony conviction. How much are we talking about? I ask. We're prepared to offer $25,000 for damages and inconvenience, plus a written apology and assurance that Mrs. Henderson will have no further contact with you. 25 grand. For a jet ski that wasn't damaged and a few hours of inconvenience. That's serious money. The kind of offer that suggests Patricia's family has more to lose than just her freedom. That's a generous offer, I admit. But you're missing something important. What's that? I'm not the victim of property damage. I'm the victim of theft. Your client didn't accidentally damage my property. She deliberately stole it because she felt entitled to use something that belonged to someone else. Money doesn't fix that mindset. There's a pause on the other end. Mr. Peterson, I understand your frustration, but surely you can see that pursuing criminal charges won't benefit anyone. Mrs. Henderson has learned her lesson, and has she? I interrupt. Because from where I sit, it looks like she's trying to buy her way out of consequences instead of facing them. Again, another pause. What would it take for you to consider dropping the charges? What would it take? I think about Patricia's smug wave, her entitled demands, her complete lack of understanding that other people's property isn't her personal playground. I think about all the other elderly lake residents she's probably bullied over the years. People who were too polite or too intimidated to fight back. Nothing you can offer, I tell the lawyer. Your client made her choice when she stole my property. Now she gets to live with the consequences. That's how justice works. I hang up before she can respond. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. You're making a huge mistake. This doesn't have to ruin both our lives. Patricia, apparently, doesn't understand that her life is the only one getting ruined here. I screenshot the text and forward it to Deputy Martinez with a note. Looks like someone's trying to intimidate a witness. Martinez calls back within 10 minutes, laughing so hard I can barely understand him. Are you kidding me? She's trying to intimidate you after getting arrested for stealing your jet ski? This woman has a death wish for her own legal defense. Is witness intimidation another charge? Oh yeah, and her lawyer's going to love hearing about this. Nothing makes a criminal defense easier, like having your client threaten the victim while she's out on bail. The next morning brings another news article. Jet ski theft defendant faces additional charges after alleged witness intimidation. Patricia's legal troubles just multiplied, and her bail just got revoked. She's back in county jail, probably sharing a cell with someone who has fewer life choices and less patience for entitled suburban princesses. Court day arrives 3 weeks later, and I dress up for the occasion. Clean jeans, button-down shirt, the kind of outfit that says responsible property owner instead of crazy lake hermit. The courthouse is packed with curious locals who've been following the Patricia Henderson saga like a soap opera. Patricia looks different. Jail orange doesn't complement her complexion, and 3 weeks without her usual beauty routine has stripped away the polished veneer of suburban privilege. She looks like what she always was underneath the designer clothes and fake smile. A middle-aged woman whose entitlement finally caught up with her. The prosecutor lays out the case methodically. Theft of watercraft, criminal trespass, reckless operation, attempted fraud, and the cherry on top, witness intimidation. Each charge comes with evidence, testimony, and that beautiful security footage of Patricia waving at me from my stolen jet ski. Her lawyer tries to paint her as a stressed mom who made a bad decision, but the witness intimidation charge destroys any sympathy she might have generated. You can't claim temporary insanity while simultaneously threatening the victim to drop charges. When they ask me to testify, I keep it simple. Patricia asked to borrow my jet ski. I said no. She stole it anyway. The remote shutdown system, the GPS tracking, the immediate call to police, all standard security measures for expensive equipment. Her subsequent threats just prove that she still didn't understand the concept of consequences. The judge is a woman in her 60s who's probably dealt with entitled tourists for decades. When Patricia's lawyer argues for leniency due to her previously clean record, the judge pulls up Patricia's history of disputes, complaints, and misunderstandings with service providers. Mrs. Henderson, the judge says, voice dripping with the kind of authority that Patricia clearly doesn't recognize. You appear to have a pattern of believing that rules don't apply to you. Today, you're going to learn otherwise. Felony theft conviction, 2 years state prison, suspended to 1 year with good behavior. Criminal trespass, 6 months concurrent. Reckless operation, license suspension and $5,000 fine. Witness intimidation, additional 6 months consecutive, no suspension. 18 months in state prison. Plus restitution, court costs, and a felony record that'll follow her forever. Patricia's face when the sentence comes down is something I'll treasure forever. The exact moment when entitled delusion meets immutable reality. Her lawyer whispers something about appeals, but they both know this is over. You can't appeal stupid decisions, just their consequences. As they lead her away in shackles, Patricia gives me one last look. Not angry anymore, not entitled. Just the hollow expression of someone whose perfect suburban life just exploded because she couldn't accept the word no from a stranger. 6 months later, I get a letter forwarded through the prosecutor's office. Patricia, writing from state prison, apologizing for her temporary lapse in judgment, and hoping we can put this unfortunate incident behind us. She's learned about consequences, respect for others' property, and the importance of accepting rejection gracefully. Too little, too late. But at least she finally learned. David Henderson divorced her while she was in prison. He got custody of the kids, the house, and probably some peace and quiet. The kids are apparently doing better without mom's entitled tantrums setting the family tone. As for me, I still take sweet revenge out every weekend, still enjoy the perfect peace of Crystal Lake. The GPS tracker and remote shutdown system are still installed, not because I expect more theft, but because Patricia Henderson taught me that some people will take anything they can get away with. The lake community remembers. Patricia Henderson's name has become synonymous with entitled tourist behavior, a cautionary tale told to every city visitor who thinks rural hospitality means everything's free for the taking. And every time someone asks to borrow my jet ski, I think of Patricia's smug wave and smile. Because now I've got the perfect response. Sorry, but the last person who asked that question is currently serving 18 months in state prison. Still interested? Funny how one stolen ride can teach so many lessons about consequences, respect, and the beautiful moment when entitled people finally meet someone who won't enable their bullshit. Sweet revenge indeed. Thank you for being with us. Please share in the comments where you are watching from and whether you liked everything, and see you next time.